To be more clear, the United States bombed Venezuela and then abducted their president and his wife. People are saying captured. No. Abducted. Kidnapped. The leader of a foreign nation that we are not at war with.
At this point, I would just be embarrassed to be a liberal. Look at what happened in New York City today. Versus South America. So the party that wants to overthrow the dictatorship of Donald Trump is upset that an actual dictator was overthrown today. Make it make sense.
You can't.
Look at this. You just can't make this shit up anymore. They're saying free Maduro. And I guess they got their marching orders. They're in New York right now protesting. You guys were just doing a no kings protest. And now you're protesting to release a king, a dictator. And say, oh, poor Venezuela. They're so happy that he is gone. What are you guys talking about? Can you guys stop standing in line like sheep and just following everything that is against Trump? And just think for yourself. Use your brain if you have one.
How is it a kidnapping? He invited us. He said, come and get me. That's a literal invitation. We just simply RSVP'd and kicked in his door in the middle of the night and snatched his ass up when he was sleeping. It's not our fault he wasn't ready for the party. He invited us to his house. We just simply honored and obliged.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. We're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place.
I mean, so much to absorb there.
Oh, but I think Maduro was a dictator. What do you have to say about that? It is criminal to kidnap the head of a sovereign state along with his wife, ship him across the ocean, and lock him in an American cage. No empire has ever destroyed so many lives while claiming to be saving them instead. No empire has ever burnt so many cities to the ground while insisting it's just defending democracy instead. The U.S. is not the sheriff of the world. It doesn't give a fuck about the world, and it doesn't give a fuck about you. If you think this is a good thing, tell me, how does this benefit you in any way? You're still going to be renting forever. You're still going to be living paycheck to paycheck forever. You're still going to be one medical emergency away from being homeless forever. Understand, the world will never know peace until the evil imperialist army is dismantled. It's that simple.
Welcome back once again to the channel. I hope you're having a great time wherever you are watching this episode from. Now, the capture of the president of Venezuela has come with a lot of mixed reactions, especially on TikTok, especially on social media. We now have people who are literally celebrating the capture of the president of Venezuela, which are Venezuelans. On the other hand, we have people who are literally protesting that free Venezuela, hands off Venezuela. And for the Americans who are literally supporting Trump as always, they are like, yes, America has literally freed Venezuela from a dictator. But on the other hand also, we have very many Americans literally protesting, literally condemning this act of the capture of the president of Venezuela, terming it as an international dictator going to a foreign country to capture a local dictators. Others are even claiming that Donald Trump is literally collecting countries one by one by one. He's literally like the sheriff of the world. He isn't. Like, people are literally saying that he's like Thanos, collecting every country like a stone. And this capture has come with a lot of reactions. Others are even saying that, of course, what else? He is after the oil because he literally confessed and confirmed that America will be running Venezuela. And now we have the United States of Venezuela. And in this video, let's watch people's reaction with the ones who are literally supporting America and Donald Trump and the ones who are against the capture of Venezuela. All these from Americans. Let's watch, then we shall be sharing our opinions.
So just in case you didn't know, when a country attacks another sovereign nation and then kidnaps the president and the president's wife of that nation and now claims they're going to run that nation, that literally goes against 1, Congress, and 2, the United Nations. See, when things like this happen, we're supposed to tell our allies that we're going to do it, and then we vote on it. The UN right now is saying the United States should have no vote in any matter whatsoever anymore until Donald Trump gets his shit together or otherwise. Not only that, but because China, Iran, and Russia are 3 of Venezuela's biggest importers of their oil, they're now going to be running dry, therefore being pulled into direct conflict with the United States military, aka a war. So, not only was this illegal, immoral, and unethical, but it's going to completely turn our own allies against us, which we see that happening in real time, and have our biggest enemies now pushing forward towards us. This is literally going to be World War fucking 3 because some billionaire oligarch that half the country voted into office decides to be a dictator. Prove me wrong.
I need you to listen to me right now. The attacks on Venezuela have nothing to do with democracy or elections. It has everything to do with oil. Venezuela has the largest oil reserve on the planet. So anything the right is saying, anything the news is saying about protecting our democracy is just not fucking true. American businessmen are greedy bastards, and they literally just want to continue to further their business interests by taking this oil and having access to this oil. Trump continues to claim that Maduro, who is the president of Venezuela, has ties to gangs and criminal contacts and they're bringing drugs. Where is the fucking proof? I just keep saying, oh, we're bombing ships that were carrying drugs. Where's the proof? How do you know this? At what point are the American people going to fucking stand up and not tolerate this bullshit? It's the same exact script that the American government has been using for decades to get involved in other countries abroad and, quite frankly, bomb and murder civilians, all for oil or natural resources that they can profit on. Prices of food, water, and medicine has already gone way up in Venezuela. Venezuelans cannot access those things. Not to mention, when we literally fucking captured the president and his wife and flew them out of there, because what the fuck are we going to be doing?
You know, Americans will wonder why things like 9/11 happened, but then we will wake up to our president explaining that we are going to run Venezuela after kidnapping their president so that we can send our large U.S. oil companies into Venezuela and extract their oil. All but abandoning the narco-terrorist line and going straight to the truth, which is that America is an imperialist nation that goes to war over resources. On the left, we spend a lot of time talking about manufacturing consent and how our government comes up with bullshit pretexts to explain why it's doing what it's doing. But they're just telling the truth now. For anyone that had any hope that our military was going to maintain independence from the president, look at how proud they are of themselves. We're ascending to a new level of fascism here where they feel like they can do whatever they want and they don't even have to lie anymore. So we have increasingly little reason to wonder why sometimes people abroad return the favor and our chickens come home to roost. Because we are a miserable country and we have always been the terror we have accused others of being. But apparently now we're proud of it.
Why is everybody acting so surprised? The United States attacking Venezuela definitely didn't come out of nowhere. In fact, it's quite obviously been in the works for many, many years. The Department of Justice indicted the Venezuelan President Maduro on charges of narco-terrorism all the way back in 2020. Yeah, narco-terrorism. They used the term back then too. Connecting it to terrorism, connecting it to the war on terror, trying to shoehorn in a kind of legal precedence for starting a war with Venezuela. They indicted Maduro in 2020, you know, the last time Trump was president. I mean, here's even a video of Donald Trump during the election campaign openly stating that during his second term, he was planning to topple the Venezuelan government in order to get his hands on their oil.
We're buying oil from Venezuela. When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
See, using charges of narco-terrorism to topple the Venezuelan government for the United States to steal their oil was always the plan for Trump's second term. It's just Trump thought that his second term was going to be in 2021. So whilst everybody's clutching their pearls surprised that this is happening, it's actually happening like 4 or 5 years behind schedule. I mean, were you not mildly suspicious when they started blowing up boats off the coast of Venezuela, or when they classified fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, even though basically none of the fentanyl going into the United States, or the cocaine for that matter, is coming from Venezuela? It's actually coming from Mexico, meaning the boats they were blowing up were most likely either smuggling cocaine to Europe or were just fishing. That was the build-up, right? That was manufacturing consent by planting the idea in people's heads that Venezuela is a terrorist state that's attacking the United States with a weapon of mass destruction. And now, literally, while I was filming this, Donald Trump has appeared on this television behind me here and stated that the United States is not only going to try President Maduro for narco-terrorism, but also they're going to, quote, run Venezuela. He also said American corporations are going to forcibly take over the Venezuelan oil industry, which is the largest oil reserve of any country in the world, which means full-scale invasion and occupation, right? Boots on the ground, dead American young people trying to pay for college, and obviously much more dead Venezuelan people. See, Maduro might have a lot of detractors. There might be a lot of Venezuelans celebrating his removal, which frankly, I don't blame them for. But if anyone actually believes that trying to take the largest oil reserve in the world is just going to happen peacefully without any resistance, you are the silliest human ever.
It is so clear that the Trump administration did not have a single freaking clue about what would come next after we captured President of Venezuela, Maduro. They didn't have a plan. They had no foresight into what they were about to do because they are fumbling so hard right now, it is not even funny. I just did 2 videos on my page that go into more details about what we are looking at and why we aren't prepared to deal with the fallout of what is about to happen. Because the geopolitical impact around the globe from the actions that the United States just took, they can't be overstated. We have placed ourselves in a position to really turn the entire world against us. And how we've been acting over the last year, I don't think that's going to be very hard to do, to talk the entire world into standing up against the rogue government of the United States, because that's how we're seen around the world. And you know what? We've kind of earned that title.
Let me put it to you like this. Donald Trump stepping in to take control of Venezuela and its oil industry is the best thing that could happen to Venezuela right now. Yeah, I said it, and if it bothers you, it's because you don't know your history. Venezuela didn't magically become an oil powerhouse. In the early 1900s, American companies helped build that industry from the ground up. It was the American equipment, engineers, refineries, and pipelines. That partnership is what made Venezuela one of the richest countries in Latin America. When people had jobs, they had a strong middle class, and the country worked. Then Venezuela had the bright idea to turn to socialism. The government took over the oil industry, and when Chavez came along, he pushed Cuba-style communism and forced U.S. companies out. And that's when everything fell apart. The oil production dropped, the money dried up, corruption took over, and people couldn't afford food, hospitals couldn't have medicine, lights went out again and again. Millions of Venezuelans were forced to flee just to survive. And for families who lost loved ones, lost years of their lives, were torn apart by this regime, this moment brings something that they haven't had in a long time, a little bit of hope. So don't tell me America wants to steal Venezuela's oil. America already helped build that industry, and Venezuela was wealthy because of it. What destroyed Venezuela was not the United States, it was communism, corruption, and cartels. Thank you, President Trump, that Venezuela has a real chance to recover and the U.S. can be the biggest buyer and investor and partner that they could ever dream of. That is not exploitation. That is a second chance.
We don't even have a Congress anymore. Any military action, like what's going on in Venezuela, is supposed to be approved by Congress. They didn't even know it was going to happen. And Marco Rubio had a meeting with them not long ago and never even mentioned it, because Congress isn't even in the loop. They've let him get away with so much that now he doesn't even consider them when making his decisions. And Venezuela is a sovereign country. We went in there and kidnapped their president and his wife. It doesn't matter if you think he's a dictator. It doesn't matter if you don't like the way he's ruling his country. That's kidnapping, and that's a war crime. They don't care. And saying they're going to charge him with all these drug crimes. This has never been about drugs. If they cared about drugs, why did they let Hernandez go? This is about power. This is about money. This is about resources. And they won't stop here. What other countries has stuff, resources, and money that he wants? Iran? Greenland? Well, he's having a press conference at 11. And I'm sure he's going to talk about how perfect it went and how they're saving Venezuela. Yeah. So put your boots on. Shit's going to get deep.
Venezuelans are happy and celebrating, but Americans are mad. I find it so interesting how different their reaction is. And at least online, it seems like the majority of Americans are mad on the behalf of Venezuelans, but then Venezuelans are happy. And before you try to lecture me, I don't know near enough to form an opinion on this. And I'm not the type of person to just have an opinion based on other people's opinion and have a reaction based on other people's reaction. So I'll look into it and then I'll form an opinion afterwards. But what I do find interesting is the difference in reaction. Venezuelans in Venezuela are happy. Venezuelans in the US are happy. But Americans in the US, Americans in Amsterdam, Americans all over the world are mad on the behalf of Venezuelans. And it's mad on the behalf of Venezuelans. It's not that you're mad that as an American, your tax dollar went to this thing, right? It's not that, because if it were that, I would understand. It's that you're mad on the behalf of Venezuelans whilst Venezuelans are happy. It's weird.
Hey, what's up, America? Thank you to Donald Trump for saving Venezuela. Yes, I think everybody needs to be thanking President Donald J. Trump for liberating Venezuela from decades of dictatorship. First, it was years of Hugo Chavez bringing suffering to millions of people, followed by Nicolas Maduro bringing suffering to millions of people. But now, as of this morning, the people of Venezuela are finally free, and it looks like Donald Trump is to thank for this. Who knew the United States military made house calls? Nevertheless, Venezuela's free, and I'm sure the Democratic opposition will be taking over Venezuela very shortly and setting up a new non-corrupt, non-narco terrorist government. So I want everybody to thank President Donald J. Trump, 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, for freeing Venezuela. This means coming up in the next couple of years, the United States will probably become very close with and even partners with the country of Venezuela. This is probably one of the best things that's happened in this hemisphere in fucking decades. So thank you, President Donald Trump, for freeing Venezuela.
So bro is literally telling us that everyone right now, because he's a Trump supporter, the way he's speaking literally shows us that, well, this person is a Trump supporter. So in short, he's telling us because he's a Trump supporter, everyone right now should be literally on their knees thanking Donald Trump. Donald Trump, thank you very much for capturing the president of Venezuela. But as you can see, guys, I believe you've seen the posts from Venezuela, the way they were striking Venezuela and captured that president. That's not capturing a person, on my own opinion. That's what we call in Kenya abduction. And abductions happen when a person is forcibly being captured. The way you saw it happen, they blindfolded him on that plane and then handcuffed him and then put noise cancellation device on his ears so that he can't understand where he's going or what is happening around him. That's what we call abduction. And for the oil part, I don't know much about Venezuela, America, China, Israel, and all the relations that these people have with Venezuela oil. But what I believe, if this president really committed these crimes, the drug crimes these people are telling us, I mean, he should have just faced the legal procedures the legal prosecution rather than being abducted. But for those who are also celebrating the capture, if they are Venezuelans, they are the ones who live in Venezuela, they are the ones who experience, and if they see this capture as a liberation or they've been freed from a dictator. If their president was really a dictator, that's why they are celebrating. Then I believe it's none of the Americans' business to stand and condemn Donald Trump. I believe if the Venezuelans are celebrating, it means they literally wanted this man gone. That's to conclude that this man was literally a dictator. Then if they are celebrating, then I believe it's none of the Americans' business to oppose this. But again, the US could have done something else than abducting him. But if it's all about the resources and the oil, well, we are in for some breaking news, because I personally believe that other countries too were after, including China and Russia. And you all know China and Russia are allies of Venezuela. It literally means that if if there is something that is going to happen about the oil in Venezuela, well, China will want to know. Russia will also want to know, or rather want a share. But in the meantime, let's just see how things goes. But in today's episode, those were people's reaction. As you can see, things are not pretty at all in the United States. Subscribe and see you in the next.